Hello, everybody. A warm welcome from my side to another edition of our Across Retail Talk. And it is, by the way, it's the last retail talk in this year. And you can be sure at the same time, I'm sure it's the most exciting one of this year. My name is Reinhard Winiwarter. I'm the publisher of Across Magazine. And I'm very, very pleased that so many people across Europe are here today. Today's topic, in my opinion, as mentioned before, very, very exciting. We will talk very open about the real challenges and problems of the retail real estate industry. As usual, a top-class discussion group is ready. Klaus Striebich will lead this discussion as my expert moderator and my master of ceremonies. And you can also take part in this discussion by asking questions. And also important, in the next few days, we will send a summary and also a video of this discussion via our newsletter and via our website. So that's all from my side at the beginning. I now hand over to Klaus. And yeah, Klaus, the stage is yours.
Thank you very much, Reinhard, and welcome to all our participants from the outside listening to the third or fourth, I'm not really sure, retail talk from Across Magazine. Thanks being with us close before MAPIC. We have a great round of people with us, which is fantastic to see, which will be introduced in a few seconds' time. What is the reason for this retail talk? We all know that retail and real estate industry is still facing a huge number of challenges. Nothing has changed so far. This is nothing new, and on top of the agenda of every industry and business, nor COVID, neither wars or conflicts across the world are the reasons for some slowdowns. In retail, what is the reason? It's the change in consumer behavior and maybe its speed to start a discussion. No doubt, a going concern is no longer valid and many things have to be changed, adapted or optimized to ensure a positive and bright future in our industry. This Across Retail Talk wants to uncover the real issues, problems and challenges of retail real estate and figuring out the reason why and the how it could work and how we will have a brighter future, and not to forget why some assets, operators and players are really stuck in our industry. We are questioning what exactly are these challenges, what tasks do they lead to, how can they be solved, and what can the mall industry learn from other asset classes or sectors? And do we start with ourselves first, or are external causes always the culprit? We have great example of business models in here, well-performing assets and great results also these days, and these panelists stand for today's session. We should discuss and talk how we may achieve positive results. We also discuss what is made wrong so far. This could be a first step of a future success when figuring out what's really wrong. What do we think is mainly done wrong in the real estate industry will be asked to my panelists. And here's the intro. Our first timer in that round is Ian Sandford from Eurofund Properties. Ian, we are extremely curious to hear who you are, what you're doing, and what your outlook could be. Please give us a hint.
Good afternoon. Thank you very much for inviting me on today. I am the chairman of Eurofund Group. I think chairman is the word which my colleagues call me because I couldn't think of another title for me, but they call me the chairman. Eurofund has 1.5 billion of assets under management across Europe. We were probably best known in the past for the development of Porta Venezia in Zaragoza, which in 2012 or 13, sorry, the best new shopping center in the world at MAPIC, and really introduced public placemaking, leisure into retail environment. Since then, we've sort of pivoted away from development towards management. We're now in Spain, UK, Portugal, Italy, and now in Germany with our first asset. And that's where there's a lot of focus going forward with the group. We've just taken on a gentleman called Olaf Ley from Winiwarter to head a big expansion plan in terms of acquisition for us in Germany. A lot of focus on Germany going forward.
Super, thanks for that. And I'm sure we hear more about your views and perspective, how the industry could look like. Thanks, Ian. We have also with us Yurdaer Kahraman. Yurdaer is still active, even that it is already 11 p.m. because he's currently in China. Yurdaer, welcome again to our third Across Retail Talk. I'm not sure, but to give the people, please, a little insight about FIBA commercial properties and what you're doing.
Yeah, hello everybody. Greetings from Guangzhou, China, and thanks for having me here with you. FIBA Commercial Properties is a subsidiary of FIBA Group, which is located in Istanbul. It's a global acting holding worldwide with almost 70 companies and almost 12,000 employees. We are active in the finance sector. We do have banks in different countries. One of the top banks in Netherlands, the Credit Europe Bank, belongs to a company. We do have insurances where we are partnering, for example, international companies like HDI Germany. We do have retail. We have the master franchisees for Marks & Spencer, Gap, now Forever 21. Sportive, we just bought 50% of this sports group. And 225, we will have the master franchisee for Lululemon for Turkey. And we are active in renewable energies like wind power and solar energy. We will set up in next year. We started already. We got the authorization in Eastern Europe, for example, in Bucharest, 200 megawatts of plant, which is an almost investment of 190 million euros. Further to this, we have commercial properties where I'm the CEO and board member. We do have shopping malls. We have residences, 5-star hotels like Swiss Hotel or Marriott. We do have also, beside that, cinemas, what we run ourselves, not because we are cinema providers, but that was the best answer to manage them in several shopping malls. We do have venture capital management, Finberg company, where I'm also in the advisory board, investing in startups as well as in VC funds, and recently almost invested like $100 million US. And we're not a pension fund, so we like also to exit in case when we see someone is doing it better than us, or we will enlarge another way of business. And China as well, we have assets. So yeah, thanks for being with you, and I'm looking forward to that great panel.
Super, thanks for that, Yurdaer. Giles, also a second timer in that round from Rioja Estates. Please give the people a little insight what you are doing, Giles.
Well, firstly, thank you very much for inviting me along to this panel session. I am Giles Membrey, Managing Director of Rioja Estates. We are one of the leading European-based specialists in the development and promotion of outlet villages across Europe. Our expertise encompasses everything from planning, design, development, funding, pre-leasing, operation, launch, and asset management. We worked on a number of schemes in the UK, and we've undertaken schemes across Europe. We're currently just funded our Malmo Designer Outlet Village, which has started on site, which was funded by French investor Frey. And we're also looking at new projects in UK, Ireland, Germany, and Italy.
Super. So thanks very much. You are a representative for the outlet industry, and good to know that after, let's say, 5 years, we know each other, yet you pronounce your first name Giles, not Giles. Thanks for correcting me at that stage. And there's no panel without a retailer. And I'm happy to have Fabien Stutz with us, a good friend meanwhile, and with his vast experience, a great representative of the retail industry. But Fabien, please introduce yourself.
Yeah, thank you, Klaus, and thanks again as well to invite me to that panel. Good afternoon, everyone. So my name is Fabien Stutz. I'm leading the real estate store construction facilities for the Peek & Cloppenburg group. So Peek & Cloppenburg is a multi-brand leader. Actually, we are 160 stores through 16 countries. And we operate actually in most of the country of Europe. So 160 store plus an online shop as well, which belong to us. So that's basically about me and about the group today. Looking forward for that great discussion.
Yeah, super. Thanks for that. So let's get started. In my intro, I said somehow that we are discussing, or we start with a discussion, what goes wrong these days. So I have a thesis. My thesis is the most missing skill we see these days, from my personal point of view, you may correct me, is there's missing leadership. Second, there's maybe a missing courage of, let's say, this decision making, something for the asset managers and the owners. And there's also missing a little the power and speed for the change or the adaptation. What's your view on that? And I would love to ask us to start with Ian. What do you think is missing? Am I wrong or am I right?
Unfortunately, you're right. We are definitely missing leadership, courage, and speed within our industry. I always say, as a group, one of our biggest advantages is that we came from a development background, and we understood about managing risk in development. And we've now sort of taken that skill base into asset management, and we're comfortable with handling risk during an asset management process. And transforming retail, and all retail basically needs to be transformed in one shape or another. It needs to be transformed. Transforming retail is about handling risk. Traditionally, asset managers don't want to take risks. They want things to happen in straight lines. Things don't happen in straight lines. You need to create vacancy. You need to bring in future retailers. So you need to understand about risk, and things never happen in a straight line. And I think courage is a huge part of that. I was chatting with Reinhard the other day and had an interview, and I explained to him about my goldfish. And the goldfish, when he goes round a bowl, by the time he gets round the other side of the bowl, he's forgotten about what he's done. So take a decision. Don't worry about it. If you get it wrong, by the time you get round the other side of the bowl, we'll have forgotten about it. But we don't. We get hung up. I had a very interesting week last week. My youngest son plays basketball in Florida, and I was chatting to his coach. I think we can learn a lot from sport. I was explaining to him about goldfish. He goes, "Oh, I love that, Ian. It's really good." And he said, "Ian, I don't care that these kids miss a shot. What I care about is their reaction afterwards. And we just react in an industry just by going into our shells again. We miss a shot, we do something slightly wrong, hasn't quite worked, stop. And we don't take risks, and we've got to take risks, and we've got to move this business forward."
I have to come back directly to your latest, let's say, project, which is in Germany. It's an Reinhard, because if you ask a German, let's say, insider, or call it a real estate expert, he said, okay, to start with Reinhard at that stage, in that period of time, that's really, really, I would say, brave. Is that something, are these skills something that could lead to success with you?
You say it's really brave. We're next to the busiest motorway in Germany. We've got a junction which goes straight into the car park. We've got a ring road which goes around the entire centre. We've got a public transport links mode in terms of bus and tramway into the centre. This is infrastructure which will never, ever be repeated again anywhere in Germany, right? And we bought it for 53 million. Okay, that's not brave. That's sensible.
Okay, so that means you see it positive, and that is maybe one of the things we should change in the industry, seeing it more positive than just negative, right?
Yeah, I totally think so. We tend to look inwards, and we've got to look outwards. We've got to look at other things. We've got to look at other industries. We've got to look at the way other people take decisions, the speed in which they react. I've been reading for the last couple of weeks the latest or the sequel on the Amazon books. And the speed that they take decisions, the way that they have small teams. They talk about if you wait till you get 90% of the information, you've waited too long, it's already a lost opportunity. You can take an informed decision with 70% of the information. We don't as an industry. We wait to take 100% of the information. We're definitely too late.
Cool, thanks for that. I think you know it, Fabien. PE Cloppenburg is a tenant at the Reinhard. What's your view, if I may go ahead with you, Fabien, about these missing skills?
I think for me, I just want to echo on what you say earlier on the pace, because there's clearly some improvement to be done on the pace. I mean, if you look at the market right now, overall, retail market is moving faster than ever. And we need to adapt to consumers changing, and we need to adapt to the consumer behaving, demand, the weather, everything. Basically, there's many factors now which make that if you want to succeed, you need to be more agile and faster than ever. And we do that, I think, on the retail side. Many retailers do that on a pretty good way and adapt to the consumer demand on a weekly basis, on a daily basis for some of them. But we still basically face as well in that overall industry, not having the same pace with investors, not having the same pace with operators. And if you take the pace of retailer, we might be on 3 weeks to react. And then you have the operators above, which might be on 6 months. And then the investors above, which might be on 12 months. And then the pace is not, because obviously the KPI and the aim actually and the vision is different from one to another one. But if you look overall, which is the consumer, we are still not consistent, and this is where we fail. Or where we challenge without failing. So I think the challenge really coming about having the same, first of all, vision for the consumer, and then making sure that, let's say, the 3 operators actually, or player, are having the same pace, or at least as close as possible in order to succeed together.
Super interesting view. Thanks for that. Giles, you have the view from the outlet industry. Is there any difference to the things we heard before, or what is your view on that?
Well, I agree with Ian. It is all about risk management. And one of my biggest frustrations as a developer is you're trying to get the scheme pre-lease before you start on site. The brands you're trying to get brands to commit to something that's possibly 2 years out. So for me, the decision-making process is out of kilter sometimes. We're finding with some of the brands, for instance, they are taking a lot longer to make decisions. And I understand that with what's going on in the macro world. And we're also finding that a lot of decisions from the brands are going back to head office, not the country manager. So you're finding decisions that may have been taken by a country manager before are now going back to head office in the States or wherever that is. So that takes a lot longer. And of course, as we approach saturation, it becomes more of a difficult decision for a brand whether or not to go into a new location because of the impact on other locations. So again, I understand why those decisions will take longer to achieve. But yeah, that's the frustration for us, is an investor wants to see at least 40-50% pre-leased, and getting the brands pre-let before you start on site is not easy because they're looking at making a decision on something that could be at least 2 years out. So that's the fundamental problem of juggling plates, as I say to people, as a developer caught in the middle of it all.
So an alignment between the stakeholders is one of the key factors for success, maybe.
Yes. Yeah, I agree.
There's one thing. We have a new member in our panel round under the name of Giles.
Who's that? What
I
are you
don't
doing,
know.
Saitom?
It's really Giles.
You need to come out and go back in because you're on the panel.
Oh, sorry.
So it would be nice. And, yeah, it sounds better. So thanks for that. So let's get started with the view on the customers. We have touched it already. What are the customers' view on our offers currently when it comes to the location, services, pricing, availabilities? What do the customers really want, need or demand, or how much surprise is needed? Yurdaer, maybe your first intro, your point of view on the customers, and how would you manage it properly in your assets?
Well, due to the fact that we have a global operation, the customer today, what I can see is in terms of information, they have the same information due to all the IT technology or being on internet, e-mobile apps, and so on and forth. It's very important to make the difference because everyone is up to date. For example, in China, 1.1 billion people approximately are using internet. I mean, they are born with internet. They are growing up with internet and all these apps and other items as well. Well, it's very important to adapt consumer behaviors towards your investments and models as well. And here, for me, what is clear visible that above all in shopping malls, when we take this part of the real estate, changed in terms of the branch and tenant mix. And in the past, as you know that very well, we had almost over 50-60% fashion. And today we have gourmet food, we have health, we have beauty, we have leisure, entertainment, we have education. Put them together to edutainment, because it depends on the location again where you are. If you want to increase dwell time, for example, in Turkey or in China, you need to have also for families a huge branch and tenant mix to support that, entertain that, and even also to bring social media and e-commerce together. A new segment what we do have above all in China in our mall, that we have electronic cars in the mall as in a branch and tenant mix. So we have 5 car dealers. The mall is 120,000 square meters, and everything is very quick changing. I mean, there are also brands upcoming which are maybe in 10 years or 11 years, for example, Miniso, which has today almost over 6,000 stores, and they are also changing customer behaviors. So we need to be very close to the retail and retailers as well, to the retail market, to the development as well. We need to be very close to our partners. And those models are not only in terms of real estate and also in terms of, let's say, retailers. It's also important to set up the right financial products in that. So it's a common strategy, and it's important to use today's customer data efficiently. So we need to see that online and offline is so important today. And I think what keeps us in the market as well is find the proper way of an alignment of online and offline touch points, let's say, where both parts can come together and survive together. I think the customer data utilization is a key. I mean, today AI or 5G and other parts needs to come together in a certain technology. It used to be great. I think there is a lack of using this data, and the data utilization also leads for future, let's say, investments and developments. Does have an important key factor, because risk management starts with that, with the planning, and with the change of the location or with the appetite of the people living in the neighborhood. So just to make a tailor-made successful product, what you have done in the past, will not survive, I would say. And as I've said, it's really important how far we are even in some parts of the world to innovative technologies like AI and 5Gs and so on and forth. This is a must. The next generation is growing up with that. And I remember when I was with Twitters or emails or Facebooks, that was maybe 20, 25 years ago, right? But today, all the new generation, call them Z or whatever is coming afterwards, they are asking for this. I think we need to know them, we need to understand them very well. And again, it depends on the product, it depends on the location. And we need to be very close also to our retailers. We need to see the development. It's also a huge challenge for them. I think it's a common task. And this is not easy. But I think challenges are always combined with a clear vision, with inspiring innovation, being fast above all, because if you are not fast, you lose market shares. And you need to have a clear vision. You need to have a clear owner, clear landlords, clear and lean management. Okay. And I think this helps everybody.
Good, thanks for that, Yurdaer. Even you should know, even my boss said in the past, for the easy things, I don't need you. So therefore, there is a chance to do something better in the near future. I would love to proceed with Ian, because Ian has created something I won't call it unusual, but he's not naming his malls shopping center. He's naming his projects shopping resorts, and he's differentiating between client, guests, and customer. Could you explain that, Ian?
Who's our customer? Yes.
Yes, I love this question.
Who
Please.
is it? Tell me. Who's my customer?
Yeah,
Want me to tell you? Shall I tell you who my customer is?
They have three, and therefore it's good to have this differentiation.
No, I have one customer on this call, Fabien. He's my customer.
So, very good. Proceed.
The 22 million people who walk in behind me here, they're my guests. And I have to treat them like my guests. And that's the thing which we looked at on Porta Venezia. It was changing two terms. One is to talk about shopping resort rather than shopping center, and the other is to talk about guests rather than customers. So why do we call it a shopping resort? You don't need to go to a shopping center anymore to buy goods. You can buy it on the internet. You can buy it online. You can pick up your phone. You can go anywhere. You have to want to come and spend time with us now in our locations. And a resort is a place where people want to go and spend time. So that's why we called it a shopping resort. A guest, they're the people we invite in here. We invite 22 million people a year to come and enjoy themselves. When we did our recent customer survey here, I was super happy. The reason why people wanted to come and visit us in Uber, this is our shopping centre in Lisbon I had today, the number one reason wasn't Primark, wasn't Zara, wasn't the cinema. They wanted to come and spend time with family and friends. Now, for me, that's a massive win for us. So they're our guests. And until our industry starts to think like the hospitality industry, until we start to respect, believe these values, we'll never change. We'll never change. And for me, that's very sad.
Super. How would you call your investor partners?
My investor partners.
Very good, very good. Fabien, do you love this kind of differentiation?
Yes and no, to be honest, and I tend to agree with Jan when you say, the retailer, because I'm not, but the retailer basically are clearly the consumer and financially of the mall. So I think clear check, but still I like very much what Jan said about the guest, because we tend to attract consumer or guests, whatever it is, through the experience. And I think it's very important, and I'm very glad to hear that now like landlord operators basically start to see us and to behave as hospitalities, because that's key for us actually. I think every retailer does his best on his own store to really bring the best experience. But if as experience actually evaporate just out of the store, that doesn't make sense. So we need to have something which is consistent between retailer and operators and landlord and investors to really make sure that consumer is really as a key of every decision and every design and experience around. So I think that's really key that we work all together. I mean, in that panel, but as well in the industry, that we become, very consistent for the consumer, which is going to become a consumer when he comes in our store. But this is a guest who comes to the shopping mall because he has some good time, he has a great experience. And then it's up to us as retailer to really make it mercantile. So that basically when he comes, we manage to sell it. But as well, our role is to keep it, our store and our offer and our experience up to date. And as well, the role of the landlord and to work with them is to really make sure that he has attract sufficiently of guests that we basically can, transform actually this guest visit into a mercantile visit. And that's really something, we're getting closer and closer through the experience, which really, I think, unify us. I think that's something in the industry which is moving forward. And we need to keep getting closer and closer in that experience actually. About consumer should really be the key. About our decision or about the experience that we bring, again, experience into shopping mall, into store, so that we basically transform that into a consumer approach.
Thanks.
Can I just interrupt here, Klaus?
One second, Giles.
Okay.
Last question to Fabien, because Ian said the tenants are the customers. Fabien, are you treated like a customer throughout your...
Not every time. Not every time. Consumer experience is not great sometimes, I have to say. But that's part of the game. So that's not a bad thing. I know. I say financially customer actually, but I agree with what Jan said in some way. Financially, we are the consumer and we basically play a role there. But yeah, that's only the financial side of the
okay. Got the difference. Excuse me, Giles. Now it's your turn, of course. I think you have many things to add.
Yeah, I just want to say that I think the outlet industry has been doing this for the last 20 years. We've always considered our customers as our guests and our brands as our customers. And it's very much more a collaborative approach to running and operating an outlet centre. And you know, it's very much more working with the brands because it's the whole model is based on turnover. So from an investor's point of view, it's all about footfall and converting that footfall to pounds and pence. But at the same time, I wanted to make the point that consumers don't just want goods. And I'm picking up on what Ian said here. I agree with him 150%. They want an immersive, personalized experience that makes buying fun and memorable. They don't just want, if they just want to buy something, they can go on the internet. It's creating that theatre. And I think outlets have led the way on that. And I think resorts that Ian is now setting up is sort of transposing that into full price. And I admire that. And I wish him all the success with the new centres. But if you look at the outlet model, as I said, we've been doing that for 20 plus years. The outlet model was turnover based in 1992 when I first started. So, you know, it's not new and we're developing it. And some of the top operators, and I won't mention names because I'll get myself into trouble, but you know who the operators are, and they've been running their centres superbly in terms of how they treat their brands and also how they treat the consumer.
And if I may actually, go ahead, Jan.
Guest, how they treat the guest, Giles.
Yeah, guests. I'm just trying to point out the guest and consumer. That's all, Ian. I agree with you. They are guests, and that's the point I'm making. But the guests are the customers to the centre who are coming, you know, in their 22 million, you said, in terms of Lisbon. And I agree with you. They're treated like guests. You know, we will have a VIP centre. We will have people to help them with shopping, personal shoppers, stylists, etc. Within those outlets. They've been working on that for the last 20 plus years. The area where the outlet has perhaps not, it is changing now, but in the old days, the outlet was not very good at providing F&B. That has now completely changed. And we're now looking at anything between 10 to 15% of floor space for F&B. And certainly in certain locations, you need even more, depending on the culture and the location.
Yeah, I tend to fully agree actually what you say about the outlet business. And I think outlet has been in some way outsider for a couple of years actually before, because we had some great shopping mall, you know, with great commercial area. And you had to basically attract through this success model. It's a business model, but as well as a success model, because you have to, as you say, you know, it's an incentive model based on turnover rent. So I think outlet has made a lot of effort and really in some way for the last 10 years, maybe now leads the way in terms of consumer experience, because all the KPI was aligned. When as you start to see now that shopping mall will bring in some way some discounter in the mall to try to duplicate that model, and certainly as well to learn from the outlet industry. You really see that now, finally, some shopping mall are as well raising actually the consumer experience and basically bringing, you know, some higher level of consumer experience. And I really see that from the outlet industry, which has been leading that for at least 10 years now.
Sounds all good. So let's go deeper in the details. When we talk about, let's say, strategies in the mall business, and let's talk about the leasing strategies maybe. Do we have too big discount formats in our mall? You mentioned it somehow. And what does these discount formats mean for the strategic positioning of a mall? I don't see them in the outlet mall. I don't see it in a luxury mall. That's easy to explain. Let's get started. Yurdaer, what your point of view in concerning leasing strategies and what to bring in the mall to be at the first point?
I mean, again, that depends on the geographic area. But I had a trip some 2 months ago through Western Europe. And I have seen a lot of malls where the cities have a very strong high streets, very much frequented, but the centers were quietly, empty. And beside the first floor, second floor was working, but I was very much surprised that I have seen so many empty areas and spaces. Another point, from my point of view, and I've seen there were done some decisions in fulfilling these areas, and there were done compromises. And these compromises, I think they had a bad impact to those malls and destinations. So I can see that this, let's say, too much discount quality has unfortunately decreased the value of some of the real estates. That means there is now a lease contract run, for example, which you cannot change for years. And some of them needs to do investments as well. But I think it must change a lot. The customer change. We need to talk about, I just said that in the beginning, we need to have valuable concepts in terms of restaurants, gourmet food, what I call. It's not only a food court with 6-7 stores, but people are expecting more. I mean, we need to increase the dwell time. With that, we need to have additional concept which support that, and in sport, health as well. We need to have startups or newcomers and companies, but on the same time, this needs to be supported with all this CRM management, which is crucial because to bring the customer, to keep the customers as well in the mall. I mean, this is important for the retailers and is important for the real estate investors as well. But they are looking so common today. And if you don't do this, so if you don't change this in a radical manner, then the location will change you. I mean, that is negative impact.
Yeah, let me raise one question, Yurdaer. So you mentioned empty spaces and empty floor, whatever. So for the short term, if there's an empty space, you put in a discount format, you name it, then it brings customers. It brings also some income. Is it the right track? Short answer?
Yeah, in the short way, short answer is a short income, right?
Okay.
If you concentrate on short, right.
I would love to forward that to Ian. I think he has a total different point of view on that.
I slightly disagree. You know, our business is about transforming centres. We take centres which traditionally have got some issues and move them forward. The base can be higher or lower. Lower in the case of Rioja, and when we started with Yurdaer, higher in the case of Silverburn in Scotland. And if I look at Rioja, we sit between Brewer Park, a great Westfield flagship asset, and Centro, another great Westfield flagship asset. If we are going to look at that centre and say, we're going to go into aspirational retail, we're going to bring in all the Inditex brands, we're gonna take on these two juggernauts either side. Honestly, we're dead. Right? We are dead. What we've been able to do is to buy a lot of space very cheaply. That means that we can lease to retailers cost effectively. Not just retailers, a lot of leisure operators, which Brewer Park and Centro just can't do. They can't go along and lease to someone at 10 euros a square meter when it's let today at 30 euros a square meter, just because they're going to bring more people in. That's exactly the philosophy we had when we turned around Uber. It's very different, for example, when we have a centre like Silverburn in Scotland. You know, there was the opportunity to take that and absolutely fly. So we have brought in the biggest Zara in Scotland. We have brought in all of the Inditex group. We have tripled the size of a Mango. We have brought in Harrods Beauty. We're bringing in a lot of new leisure operators. We will be the best shopping centre in Scotland, period, right? So it all depends on your base product. You know, we can't, the malls aren't cookie cutter solutions. We've got to think a little bit more about them and see how we can transform them and what's the best strategy to do that transformation.
Yeah, there's indeed no size fits all concept for sure, but let's talk about patience. I think patience is something that's somehow missing at a certain stage in the mall operations. So I think your patience as the visionary, that's somehow okay. But if you ask a banker or a finance guy whether he puts some patience into the leasing strategy, maybe there's a kind of conflict of interests. How could we manage, let's say, timeline, name it patience, whatever, to make it run like you described?
It's interesting. I think this circles back to the thing Giles was talking about earlier on, how you get, and Fabien was sitting there saying, retailers are moving with speed now. Giles is recognizing that, but they don't want to make commitments for 2 years in front. Whereas our traditional money in our sector has been long-term core hold money, and that is looking for yield, not looking for risk, right? So we have this disconnect between the pace at which the retailers are moving and the speed at which the money is moving within our sector. How is that solved? In my opinion, it's solved over the longer term or medium term by operators such as ourselves having permanent capital rather than working with third-party capital.
Got it. Fabien, have retailers the patience to, let's say, to develop a plot properly, or is patience really needed to create a real good location at the very end?
I think this is what Giles said earlier, actually, as a retailer, market's moving so quickly that, when we take a decision, like in the past 12 months ahead, now we take 6 months ahead because we need to see how the market move and the financial KPI move as well. So we are, let's say, more and more, or we tend to be more and more agile and more versatile actually on taking decision and just make sure we can adapt to whatever the market asks for. So I think patience, patience is more, let's say, on our product, marketing, merchandising, recruitment, all the operational challenge we have behind, but we are certainly having more patience than certainly some of the developer or the operators because they have the investors behind. So in some way, we are at the back of the end of the chain. But I would like just to quickly jump back on what you said earlier about the leasing strategy as well, within the mall itself when it comes to discounter. We have seen for the last few years now in some outlet business, which is basically very bargain driven. And the consumer, if you think again, consumer, outlet is very bargain driven. This is where you're going to access to the brand on a very lower price in some way. And we have seen that business now where we bring as well in some specific store, some full price product, specific offer and things. So we see that now in few outlets. And all the way around, you see that shopping mall, which is very full price driven, experience based, which bring as well some discounter. So this is kind of hybrid model. I'm not judging about the financing behind because I'm not here. But for the consumer again standpoint, that may be a bit confusing. That's when you go in a bargain area or a good price area, then you find some full price, which is great experience, and then you go in a shopping mall, which is a full price, and you get some discounter. So again, if you think consumer base, that's quite challenging actually to see where you're going and what to expect for. And on top of that, if you mix the consumer experience, what Jan was calling earlier the guest, and the guest, let's say the guest experience, which is different level between outlet and full price, this is where we need to be, again, remain consistent for all consumer or guests, whatever, in order to really give them something clear on what we want to offer. Yeah. So I think my point basically on the leasing, on the discounter, actually, it can be, but to a certain level, because right, we lose away with the consumer. Paul.
Thanks for that, Giles. I think that's a perfect bridge for you because there's no need for you to put in these big discount formats into an outlet mall. But
no,
what are your comments?
Well, my view is that it's more in outlets. It's more about value than discount. And what's key for the success of an outlet scheme is to make sure you've got the mother company support and you're not doing multi-brand units. It's got to be mother company. It's got to be key quality value stores. They're not necessarily the biggest, but their brand is such that they'll attract the consumers to the site. So, you can have an anchor brand that's only in a unit of 350 square meters, but it's still an anchor brand because that brand is so popular and will pull other people to the area. So that, for me, that's key, is to, some of the sports brands are doing bigger units now. We're seeing units of around 900 to 1,000 square meters for some of the sports. But in the main, most of the what I call anchor brands for outlets are somewhere between 350 and 650 square meters.
Okay, thanks for it.
And interestingly, as a developer, just one final point, as a developer, when you're leasing up a scheme, because it's all based on turnover, so I come back to the model, it's all about turnover. So often, you know, a brand might want to do 500-meter store, but if we're going to get the same turnover out of that brand in a 350 square meter store, why do I want to give them 500? I want to keep them as low as possible, so my densities are as high as possible. And there's one particular operator, and I'm not going to mention names, who's been very successful at doing that. And as you know, I think Bicester Village is probably one of the most successful retail centres in the world, both full price and outlet.
That's a fantastic point, because when I started my career, it's quite 35 years ago, turnover was always in the middle of our discussion. So the income of the retailer always lead to a good, let's say, rental income. And funny wise, when the shopping mall industry started 50, 60, 70 years ago, that was the origin. The question is, have we lost that? Have we forgotten it? Or have you, let's say, dig it out again and put it in the middle of our discussion? And may I ask, what is, Yurdaer, you want to say something, if I'm right?
Yeah, I would say everyone has here different concepts, right? I mean, a different product. But surely discount stores, I mean, they are also complementing here and there real estate or shopping malls. But the strategic placement, you need to see that above all, those concepts, they do have a huge competition as well on online. And to increase the footfall, this is always the aim, and will be not solved just with that, because the complementary branch and tenant mix, you know, will not function at all. So the strategic placement is very important due to the location, due to the need of the customers, due to the environment, due to the catchment area. So this is, again, very crucial. Further, it is the diversification. And what I see in general is also the sub-segmentation. In some countries, I mean, it's not only just a perfumery store or just a sports store with 6 or 7 units of, I don't know, there's a wall with football shoes. You go further, you know, just somehow 10% of the assortment is ski. Further, you go trekking. Even these segmentation, I mean, the stores, you know, you see yoga stores of 400, 500 square meters. You see, for example, segmentation in beauty, you know. These are special stores with special needs. And I think this is a quality which is needed, and which I do not see in the strategic placement in some of the concepts. That was the reason why I have mentioned that. I mean, the solution will not come with only that kind of discount stores. And the adaptability and also the flexibility into the formats is also so difficult in the future that you can even not change any concept designs. I mean, as I said before, there are concepts just picking up, I mean, 5 years, 10 years, and they are acting globally. They are so fast. And so you are breaking down your flexibility with that as well. Again, it comes back to the vision. Again, it comes back to the lean management. Again, it comes back to being fast. And it comes back to the product itself. And I do not see any surviving aspect of malls who just bet on discount stores. And this is what I would like to emphasize, and this is my personal view on this. And I do think we need to totally differentiate. We need to see that, you know, we need to have other components in the branch and tenant mix. We need to have the people more and more efficient there. We need to have them with a different experience as well. And we need to see how we can keep them in the mall. For example, look at the e-cars technology. I mean, due to the fact that we are not, for example, in malls, above all in foreign countries, for example, German companies. I mean, there's BMW, there are others, they have also electronic cars, but they are not visible in Asia in any stores. You go to any stores in Asia or shopping malls, what do you see? Is Tesla, you see the Chinese ones, and some other internationals. But for example, these are also movements. These are chances. When I see that, for example, Neo is open up one concept store in Düsseldorf, very close to the Coast Street. I mean, they are doing this not by coincidence. There's a clear vision behind that, and they're entering also to shopping malls. I said Ian said this as well. I mean, food and beverage is very important. I mean, restaurants as well. So I think we need to cover the needs of customers. And Rhein-Ruhr-Zentrum, for example, with that direct extents to the A40, I mean, most likely Ian doesn't want to have people just coming for 1 hour. They will never come for 1 hour. You want to have them in a dwell time, long staying, and enjoying their day over there. Otherwise, the competition in that area is so huge that, I mean, the answers will be very difficult. So means to increase that, only one aspect and one component will not help. And this is the point, as I mentioned, this is a leasing strategy, is short thought, and doesn't have so much. And even you also lose, I mean, very close partners, retailers, as well as customers.
Thank you. So as time is running, and I think the audience is still listening because we have not so many questions currently. But anyway, I want to raise a question before we come to the last round, which is how can we make it run what we discussed so far? What is maybe your, let's say, leading KPI to make your location, your asset, your plot, your resort, your mall, whatever it is, really successful? Many people talk about finance KPIs, rents per square meter, experience per square meter, customer performance indicators, whatever. Do you have preferred KPIs? Make it as short as possible with your answer, which you are steering and managing your assets. Is there anything in mind? Ian, you look that you have one in mind.
They're not KPIs, they're GPIs. Yes, performance indexes. And it's really, you know, just think about the guest first of all and work backwards. The money will look after itself.
Is it the number, or is it the level of well-feeling or well-fit, or how do you measure it?
It's very interesting. I have a big debate with my team about how we should not look at footfall, how we should look at footfall multiplied by dwell time, multiplied by customer acquisition, acquisitive ability. And that's really the important part. You know, we can attract 20 million of people, but if 10 million of those don't have any money, that's not great for us. But if all 20 million have money, that's fantastic. But if you get, you know, we then go to 22 million, but the other 2 million don't have any money, not that interesting. We need to look at other factors. You know, I just quickly, I was very lucky, spent some time with all the guys in Primark, and they talk about you only need to think about two things in retail: how you get them there and how you keep them there. And I think it's absolutely brilliant when you come back to those two things. Everything we do is about that.
I love this. So guest GPI as a new indicator in our industry and how we manage that properly. Giles, you're smiling. I'm afraid you have the same view.
I have exactly the same view. You know, traditionally our GPI would be sales per square meter, which is still important. But what I think is more important is a comprehensive sort of the critical metric for success is not only how much revenue a store generates, but how much of an experience it provides per square meter. And that's difficult to gauge, but agreeing with Ian, it's all about keeping your customer there. So in outlets, it's all about marketing. It's all about creating that footfall and then converting that footfall into euros and cents. Interestingly, in the outlet market, one of the success factors is the fact that the conversion rate from customer to spending is nearly 80-85%, which is much higher than you get in a traditional, and I underline traditional there, Ian, shopping centre. Whereas, and also the dwell time in an outlet centre is somewhere around 3.5 to 4 hours. Again, that's a lot higher than you'd get in a traditional shopping centre. And it's about providing that experience, F&B, quality environment, places where people can sit and rest, recharge their batteries, and then go back out shopping again. It's keeping that customer in the center. So I 150% again agree with Ian on how you should measure your GPI. And I think that should be a future invented by Ian Sandford, a future calculation that we should have from KPIs. Thank you.
Well, that sounds good, because I think you're a little bit closer to Peter Drucker's words, who said, okay, you only can manage what you can measure. So therefore, GPI is our common indicator. Fabien, as a retailer, do you agree with these two guys?
Yeah, absolutely, I agree. Actually, I think it's footfall is important, but it's more about how you retain that footfall, because footfall, you know, if you go to a train station with massive footfall, but doesn't mean that they are buyer. So it's basically you need to transform that footfall to buyer, you need to retain them, and you need to have loyalty as well. So that the mall and the brand is building some loyalty with that consumer, that it come back to the mall and to the brand itself. So I think footfall is important, but that's not key. It's really about loyalty, retention, and conversion, actually.
I have a phrase which I use with our team a lot, which is humans can resist everything apart from temptation. Our job is to get them there and then put the temptations in front of them. And then they'll spend. We're built to spend.
Very good. I love these words, because if the people are in here and they feel good, the money will follow anyway.
Exactly.
It will be. So that's fantastic. Guys, I'm a little bit afraid we are 3 minutes before the end. So from each of you, a short statement. If you can advise our community with 3 top-notch commendations, what will they be, Yurdaer? Your 3 commendations for our industry to be successful and create a bright future. Very shortly, please.
I mean, work in a company where you see your top management leaders with a clear vision and strategy towards the future. And if it is not fast, just search another one. Second, try always to keep competition very close eye on it, and never underestimate the developments. And think clearly about the effect of online, which will come, definitely. I mean, this is something where you need to have an alignment and find a way to strengthen also the stationary retail. And there are a lot of ways, we just talked about that today, and be there in a company with lean management and very clear strategies and values, and see the world and don't stay only in your own garden.
Super. Thanks for that, Yurdaer. We will follow this commendation. Fabien, do you have 3 commendations for our industry?
First one is be agile. I mean, the world is changing faster than ever. So, and even now, actually, so be agile, test and learn on a weekly basis, on a monthly basis, on a yearly basis, and adapt. So that for me is like the tricky.
It's very short and very, very direct and very correct. Thanks for that. Giles, what are your 3 ones?
Well, I think as a developer, it's vital to have a robust series of criteria which need to be met before we'll consider a site as a potential location for an outlet. So things such as the traveling distance, catchment, accessibility, sustainability. We haven't talked about that this afternoon, but sustainability is becoming even more important in the development of outlet centres. I'm sure it's the same with shopping centres as well, not just from the sort of green credentials, which everybody talks about, but also the social values. How can your centre help local communities? How can you work closer with local communities, not just in terms of job creation, but ongoing working with them over the next 20 years or so? So for me, it's about creating an experience for the consumer. There's much more to a successful outlet centre than just offering value goods. It's about how the overall experience, which starts when the guest actually leaves the house with the ability to because they can browse online and click and collect, but it's about the ease of parking, access, green spaces, cleanliness, and safety. That's also important. Thank you.
For that. Ian, you are the innovator of GPI. What are your 3 commendations?
Funnily enough, the first one is focus on the guest. Just Giles said, when you think about when they actually leave, Walt Disney calls the car park the outer lobby. I think it's a brilliant expression. So total focus on the guest and the whole guest journey in there, online and offline. Be bold, like you said. Be bold. Take risks. Take risks. You'll make mistakes, but you'll probably be more right than wrong. And if you're more right than wrong, you'll do okay.
Fantastic. I have to thank you so much for that great round. I enjoyed it very much, and I could talk another 5 hours with you, but time is limited. So therefore, thanks for that, and I hope for let's say a success story in the near future. And I hand back to Reinhard for the last words.
Yeah. Thank you very much, gentlemen. It was great. Many thanks from my side. It was really extremely inspiring, exciting, informative, and also entertaining. And what you did, you provided me so many valuable ideas and inputs for our future editorial work. Thank you. Thank you very much. And as mentioned at the beginning, we will send a summary of these talks in the next days with our newsletter and with our website for sure. Many thanks again to you, to my panelists. Many thanks for all of you for watching. And yes, next year we will go on with the cross retail talks, but maybe before we see each other next week at MAPIC in Cannes, I will be there. Would be great to meet. Yes, that's all from my side. It was great. Greetings from Vienna, and goodbye to everyone. Goodbye.
Thank you very much, Reinhard, and see you next week.
Thank you.
Take care.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you very much to everyone.
Thank you, guys.